Meghan Markle just ended a career with one phone call, and the beauty industry is absolutely reeling. We're talking about a friendship that survived royal weddings, international scandals, and countless Hollywood shakeups, but it couldn't survive one Instagram post. Daniel Martin, the makeup artist who once had exclusive access to the Duchess of Sussex, is now reportedly persona non grata, and insiders claim the fallout is so explosive that it's sending shockwaves through the entire cosmetics world. Here's what went down. Picture Meghan stepping out in Paris during Fashion Week, camera flashes going off like fireworks, everyone analyzing every single detail of her appearance. Daniel Martin was responsible for her makeup that night, and let's just say the reviews were less than stellar. People were brutal. Social media lit up with commentary about her look, with some saying it appeared hastily done, others questioning the technique entirely. The whispers started immediately. Was this really the work of a top-tier makeup artist? But here's where things went from bad to catastrophic. Daniel made a choice that would alter everything. He posted about creating Meghan's Paris look on his social media, complete with product credits and tags for his ambassadorial brands. Now, to anyone outside the Meghan Markle universe, this seems perfectly normal. A makeup artist crediting their work? Standard industry practice, but sources close to the situation reveal that Meghan's team went absolutely ballistic. Within hours, that post vanished from Daniel's feed like it never existed. The official story? Daniel forgot to include some details and planned to re-upload a corrected version. Sounds reasonable enough, right? Except here's the kicker. 2 weeks have passed, and that re-upload never materialized. Radio silence. Industry insiders are whispering that Daniel wasn't asked to take it down. He wasn't politely requested to make edits. He was allegedly forced to delete it entirely, and the reason had nothing to do with missing information. Word on the street suggests Meghan was furious that Daniel hadn't asked permission before posting. Permission? For crediting his own work. Let that sink in for a moment. This wasn't just about a makeup tutorial or product placement. This was about control, about maintaining the carefully curated image that Meghan has built, and about one of her closest allies stepping outside the invisible boundaries she'd established. But that was just the beginning of Daniel's nightmare. What started as a deleted Instagram post has spiraled into something far more devastating. Sources are now claiming that an entire business venture between Meghan and Daniel has been put on ice, frozen indefinitely, while she allegedly searches for bigger names and better opportunities. The makeup artist who stood by her side on her wedding day, who defended her through scandal after scandal, is now reportedly crying on camera and desperately trying to salvage whatever remains of their relationship. And the beauty world is watching this implosion with absolute fascination, because if Meghan Markle can do this to someone who was once in her inner circle, nobody is safe. To understand how spectacularly this relationship has imploded, we need to rewind to where the cracks first appeared. Because this wasn't Daniel's first mistake in Meghan's eyes, not even close. Long before the Paris disaster, he committed what sources describe as an unforgivable sin in the world of Meghan Markle, and it involved something as innocent as tea and toast. It was early in their friendship, back when Daniel was still navigating the bizarre rules of being associated with someone connected to the British royal family. He'd been invited to Windsor, spent time with Meghan, and like any normal human being excited about their day, he shared it. Just casually mentioned on social media that he'd had tea and a bite to eat with the Duchess at Windsor Castle. Harmless, right? A sweet moment between friends. Except in Meghan's world, nothing is ever that simple. Insiders claim Meghan was absolutely livid. The problem wasn't what Daniel said, it was that he said anything at all without clearing it first. According to sources close to the situation, there's an unspoken protocol when you're in Meghan's orbit. You don't share details about your time together. You don't reveal locations. You certainly don't post about private moments without explicit approval. Daniel had broken the code, and even though it seemed like such a minor slip, it allegedly marked him as someone who couldn't be fully trusted. But here's what makes this whole thing even more fascinating. Meghan didn't cut him off then. She kept him around, kept him close, continued using his services. Why? Because he was useful. Daniel Martin had the skills she needed, the industry connections she valued, and perhaps most importantly, he was loyal enough to publicly defend her when the tabloids came calling. So she forgave the Windsor incident, or at least appeared to, but sources suggest she never really forgot. That tea and toast moment became a reference point, a reminder that Daniel needed to be managed carefully. Every interaction after that allegedly came with invisible strings attached. Don't post without permission. Don't share behind-the-scenes details. Don't step out of line. And for years, Daniel played by these rules. He became the obedient friend, the reliable makeup artist, the person who showed up when Meghan needed him and stayed silent when she didn't. The pattern was established right there at Windsor Castle. Meghan could be warm, could be charming, could make you feel like you were part of something special, but cross one of her boundaries, even accidentally, and you'd be walking on eggshells forever after. Daniel learned that lesson the hard way, and he spent years trying to prove he could be trusted again. He became one of her most vocal supporters, defending her in interviews, praising her on social media, showing up for her events without complaint. But trust, once broken in Meghan's world, is never fully restored. And that Windsor Tea incident, it was just the preview of what would eventually become Daniel's complete and total downfall. Because when he made his second major mistake in Paris, there was no coming back from it. Before everything collapsed, there was a time when Daniel Martin wasn't just Meghan's makeup artist. He was supposedly one of her trusted confidants, part of that exclusive inner circle that so few people ever penetrate. And nowhere was that bond more visible than on May 19, 2018, the day Meghan Markle married Prince Harry in front of billions of viewers worldwide. Daniel was given the ultimate honor. He was chosen to create Meghan's bridal makeup for one of the most watched weddings in modern history. Think about the pressure of that moment. Every single brushstroke would be analyzed, critiqued, and photographed from 1,000 different angles. The entire world would be watching, and Meghan's appearance had to be absolutely flawless. She didn't just hand that responsibility to anyone. She gave it to Daniel, and that decision spoke volumes about how much she allegedly valued him at the time. Sources say Daniel spent weeks preparing for that day. He tested products, experimented with techniques, worked to create a look that would photograph beautifully both in the ancient chapel and under the harsh scrutiny of high-definition cameras. The result was widely praised. Meghan's makeup was described as natural, radiant, and perfectly suited for a royal bride. Daniel had delivered under impossible circumstances, and his career skyrocketed because of it. The wedding cemented their relationship in a way that seemed unbreakable. Daniel wasn't just her makeup artist anymore. He became part of her story, woven into one of the most significant moments of her life. He traveled with her, worked on her for major appearances, and became a familiar face in photographs of Meghan at various events. Industry insiders watched with envy as Daniel rode the wave of being associated with the Duchess of Sussex. But here's what people didn't see behind all those glamorous photos and red carpet moments. Even during this golden era, there were allegedly rules. Daniel might have been in the inner circle, but he was never an equal. Sources close to the situation suggest that every post, every interview, every public comment about Meghan had to be carefully calculated. He could praise her, absolutely. He could share his excitement about working with her, but he could never reveal too much, never claim too much credit, never position himself as anything more than a supporting player in her narrative, and Daniel seemed perfectly content with that arrangement. Why wouldn't he be? His association with Meghan opened doors that might have stayed closed otherwise. He gained clients, built his brand, and established himself as someone who could handle high-pressure situations with A-list celebrities. The wedding day success was proof of his talent, and Meghan's continued patronage kept him relevant in an incredibly competitive industry. Those were the glory days, the time when Daniel probably thought he'd secured his place in Meghan's world permanently. He'd proven his loyalty, demonstrated his skills, and survived the Windsor Tea incident without losing her completely. Everything seemed solid, stable, and mutually beneficial. But in Meghan's orbit, nothing stays golden forever, and the fall, when it came, would be swift and merciless. Paris Fashion Week was supposed to be Daniel Martin's moment to shine alongside Meghan once again. Instead, it turned into the beginning of his professional nightmare, and the drama that unfolded wasn't just about makeup. It was about power, control, and what happens when someone in Meghan's world forgets their place. Meghan arrived in Paris with all the confidence of someone ready to reclaim her spotlight. This was her chance to show the fashion world that she was still relevant, still influential, still someone who mattered outside of royal drama. Daniel was brought in to create her look, and according to sources, he approached it like any other high-profile job. He selected products, worked his techniques, and sent Meghan out looking exactly how she wanted to look. Or so everyone thought. But social media had other ideas. The moment those Paris photos hit the internet, the commentary started rolling in, and it was absolutely brutal. People weren't holding back. Some said her makeup looked heavy, almost greasy under the lights. Others questioned whether the application was rushed or poorly blended. The phrase that kept appearing, according to insiders who monitored the response, was that it looked like she'd stuck her head in a chip pan. Harsh? Absolutely. But the internet doesn't deal in kindness, especially when it comes to celebrity appearances. Now here's where Daniel made his fatal error. Instead of staying quiet and letting the moment pass, he decided to own his work publicly. He posted about creating Meghan's Paris look on his Instagram, complete with detailed product credits. He tagged the brands he works with as an ambassador, listed the specific items he used, and essentially turned Meghan's appearance into a portfolio piece for his own career. To any reasonable person, this seems like standard practice. Makeup artists credit their work all the time. It's how they build their businesses and attract new clients. But Meghan's team allegedly saw it differently. Sources claim they viewed Daniel's post as unauthorized self-promotion using Meghan's image and moment. He hadn't asked permission before posting. He hadn't cleared the product placements with her team. And perhaps most damaging, he was drawing attention to himself at a time when the makeup reviews were less than stellar. By claiming credit so publicly, he was essentially tying his name to a look that people were already criticizing. The backlash was swift and came from multiple directions. Not only were people questioning the makeup itself, but now they were watching Daniel publicly associate himself with it. Industry whispers suggest that Meghan was mortified, not just by the less than glowing reviews, but by the fact that her makeup makeup artist had turned what was supposed to be her fashion moment into his own promotional opportunity. And in Meghan's world, that kind of unauthorized spotlight stealing is apparently unforgivable. Within hours, Daniel's post disappeared. No explanation, no fanfare, just gone. And the beauty industry immediately knew something had gone very, very wrong behind the scenes. This wasn't just a simple deletion. This was the beginning of a complete relationship implosion that would leave Daniel scrambling to save his reputation and his career. The deleted post sent shockwaves through the beauty industry faster than anyone could have anticipated. One minute, Daniel Martin was proudly showcasing his work with Meghan in Paris. The next minute, it was gone, vanished from his feed like it never existed. And the explanation that followed? Well, let's just say nobody was buying it. Daniel's official statement was carefully worded and suspiciously vague. He claimed he'd forgotten to include some details in the original post and needed to take it down to make corrections. He'd re-upload it soon with the proper information. Totally normal, right? Except industry insiders immediately called it out for what it really was. A cover story. Sources close to the situation claim Daniel didn't voluntarily delete anything. He was allegedly ordered to remove it immediately by Meghan's team, and the pressure wasn't subtle. Here's what makes this whole situation even more telling. 2 weeks passed after that deletion, then 3 weeks, then a month, and that promised re-upload never materialized. Daniel's Instagram continued with other content, other clients, other projects, but the Meghan Paris post? Completely erased from existence with no follow-up whatsoever. If he'd genuinely just forgotten some details, wouldn't he have corrected and reposted within a day or two? The prolonged silence spoke volumes about what was really happening behind the scenes. Word on the street suggests the real issue wasn't about forgotten details or incomplete information. According to sources, Meghan's team was furious that Daniel had posted without seeking approval first. Not approval for the quality of the work, but approval to publicly associate himself with her at all. The product placements, the brand tags, the professional credits, all of it allegedly violated the unspoken agreement that nothing gets shared about Meghan without her explicit permission. And this time, unlike the Windsor Tea incident, there would be consequences. Industry watchers noticed something else interesting during this period. Daniel's usual pattern of posting about working with high-profile clients continued, but any mention of Meghan completely ceased. No throwback photos, no references to their friendship, no casual comments about their history together. It was like he'd been instructed to scrub her from his public presence entirely, at least for the time being. Sources suggest this wasn't Daniel's choice, but rather a mandate from Meghan's camp to distance himself while they decided his fate. The beauty community started whispering. Makeup artists who'd watched Daniel's career flourish thanks to his royal connection were now watching it potentially crumble for the same reason. Some expressed sympathy, understanding how difficult it must be to navigate someone as allegedly controlling as Meghan. Others saw it as a cautionary tale about getting too comfortable with celebrity clients who demand absolute loyalty and discretion. Either way, Daniel's silence became deafening. But the 2-week gap between deletion and total radio silence wasn't just about a missing Instagram post. Behind the scenes, according to insiders, something much bigger was falling apart. A business opportunity that could have transformed Daniel's career was allegedly being dismantled piece by piece, and Meghan was reportedly the one holding the wrecking ball. Now we get to the part that makes this story truly devastating for Daniel Martin. Because the Paris post debacle wasn't just about a social media mistake. It allegedly destroyed something much bigger, something that could have been life-changing for both of them. Sources claim Meghan and Daniel had been quietly discussing launching a makeup collaboration together, and the Paris incident reportedly killed it dead in its tracks. Think about what this venture could have meant. Meghan's name recognition combined with Daniel's technical expertise and industry connections. It had the potential to be massive. A beauty line that could compete with the celebrity makeup brands already dominating the market. Daniel would finally get to step out from behind the scenes and build something substantial with his name on it. For Meghan, it would be another revenue stream, another way to monetize her fame outside of Netflix deals and podcasting attempts. But here's the brutal reality that insiders are whispering about. The beauty industry is absolutely ruthless, and launching a successful makeup line requires more than just a famous face and a talented artist. It demands massive capital investment, distribution networks, marketing campaigns, and most importantly, a founder who can handle the intense public scrutiny that comes with it. And Meghan's track record in business ventures hasn't exactly been stellar. Remember the lifestyle blog? The jam that never quite materialized into a full brand? The various projects announced with great fanfare that quietly faded away? Industry experts were already skeptical about whether Meghan could successfully launch and sustain a makeup empire, especially in a market already oversaturated with celebrity beauty brands. Every month, another famous person releases their own line, and most of them fail within a year or two. The competition is fierce, and consumers are getting increasingly selective about where they spend their money. Sources suggest that even before the Paris disaster, there were concerns about whether this collaboration would work. Meghan allegedly wanted creative control over everything from product development to packaging to marketing strategy. Daniel, understandably, wanted his expertise respected and his professional input valued. The tension between vision and execution was apparently already creating friction, but both sides were willing to work through it because the potential payoff was so significant. Then came the Paris Post, and everything changed overnight. According to insiders, Meghan's team immediately began distancing themselves from any formal business discussions with Daniel. The collaboration that had seemed promising just weeks earlier was suddenly put on ice indefinitely. Not officially canceled, mind you, because that would require acknowledgement that it existed in the first place. Just quietly shelved while Meghan allegedly started exploring other options with bigger names in the beauty industry. And here's the part that makes this especially brutal for Daniel. Word in industry circles suggests that Meghan is still pursuing the makeup venture, just without him. She's reportedly reaching out to more established cosmetics executives, bigger brand names, people with proven track records in launching successful beauty lines. Daniel, the man who stood by her on her wedding day, who defended her through countless controversies, is allegedly being replaced before the project even officially existed. The message is clear. He's no longer useful enough to be worth the trouble. If you've been following Meghan Markle's journey for any length of time, Daniel Martin's situation probably sounds eerily familiar, because this isn't the first time someone close to Meghan has found themselves suddenly frozen out, discarded, and left wondering what happened to the friendship they thought was unbreakable. In fact, there's a pattern here that's become impossible to ignore, and it's absolutely chilling when you lay it all out. Let's talk about Jessica Mulroney. Remember her? The Canadian stylist who was supposedly Meghan's best friend, the woman whose children were in the royal wedding, the person who defended Meghan publicly through every scandal and controversy. They were inseparable until suddenly they weren't. After Jessica became embroiled in her own public relations nightmare involving accusations of racist behavior, Meghan allegedly cut her off completely. No public support, no private solidarity, just radio silence. Jessica went from best friend to persona non grata overnight, and sources claim the two haven't spoken in years. Then there's Meghan's father, Thomas Markle. Say what you will about his decisions to speak with tabloids and his questionable choices regarding the media, but this is still her father. The man who raised her, supported her career, walked her partway down the aisle before his health crisis. After the wedding drama and his subsequent interviews, Meghan allegedly shut him out entirely. No reconciliation attempts, no private conversations, no family therapy sessions. Just complete and total estrangement that continues to this day. The list goes on. Childhood friends who suddenly stop appearing in her life. Colleagues from her acting days who get frozen out the moment they're no longer professionally useful. Former staff members who leave with non-disclosure agreements and carefully worded statements about seeking new opportunities. The pattern is consistent and frankly disturbing. People are useful until they're not, loved until they step out of line, embraced until they become inconvenient. What makes Daniel's situation fit this pattern so perfectly is the nature of his alleged offense. He didn't betray Meghan in any meaningful way. He didn't sell stories to tabloids or publicly criticize her. He simply failed to ask permission before crediting his own work. And in Meghan's world, that unauthorized independence apparently warrants exile. It's the same controlling behavior that allegedly drove away so many others. The expectation of absolute obedience, complete submission to her vision of how relationships should function, and immediate disposal when those standards aren't met. Industry insiders who've worked with Meghan describe an environment of walking on eggshells constantly. You never know what might trigger her displeasure. A comment that seems innocent could be interpreted as overstepping. Sharing a moment that feels natural could be seen as betrayal. And once you're on her bad side, there's allegedly no path back to redemption. You're simply erased, replaced, and forgotten. Daniel is learning this lesson the hardest way possible. Years of loyalty, a wedding day bond, countless defenses of her character. None of it matters when you break the unspoken rules. And the beauty industry is watching this play out with a mixture of sympathy and fear, wondering who'll be next on Meghan's disposal list. The beauty industry loves gossip almost as much as it loves a good scandal. And the Meghan Daniel situation has given them both in spades. Behind closed doors, makeup artists, brand executives, and industry insiders are having conversations that would make Meghan's team absolutely furious. And the consensus? Let's just say it's not favorable to the Duchess of Sussex. Sources within the cosmetics world reveal that major beauty brands are allegedly proceeding with extreme caution when it comes to any potential collaboration with Meghan. It's not that they don't recognize her name recognition or her ability to generate headlines, it's that they're increasingly concerned about what working with her actually means. The controlling behavior, the alleged demands for approval over every single detail, the pattern of burning bridges with collaborators, all of it is making executives nervous about investing millions of dollars into a partnership that could implode at any moment. One beauty industry veteran, speaking on condition of anonymity, allegedly told colleagues that Meghan's reputation in Hollywood circles is becoming increasingly problematic. It's not just about her public persona or her ongoing royal family drama. It's about the behind-the-scenes behavior that makes people reluctant to work with her on long-term projects. When someone has a track record of discarding loyal friends and collaborators over minor infractions, brands start wondering if they'll be next on the chopping block when the inevitable disagreement arises. Meanwhile, Daniel's reputation is taking hits from multiple directions. On one hand, there's sympathy from fellow makeup artists who understand how difficult it can be to navigate celebrity clients with complicated demands. They see him as a cautionary tale about getting too close to someone as allegedly controlling as Meghan. On the other hand, there are whispers that Daniel should have known better, that he'd already been warned about Meghan's need for control after the Windsor incident, and that the Paris post was a preventable mistake. But here's where things get really interesting. Some industry insiders are questioning whether Daniel's association with Meghan has actually damaged his career more than it helped. Yes, the royal wedding gave him incredible exposure and opened doors initially, but now that association is becoming a liability, potential clients are allegedly wondering if he's difficult to work with, if he'll cause drama, if hiring him means dealing with Meghan-adjacent chaos even when she's not directly involved. The Hollywood beauty community is notoriously tight-knit, and word travels fast. Makeup artists talk to stylists who talk to publicists, who talk to brand executives. The story of Daniel's freeze-out has allegedly spread through these networks like wildfire, and it's creating a chilling effect. People are reassessing whether the prestige of working with Meghan is worth the apparent headaches and potential career damage that comes with it. What's particularly telling is that nobody wants to go on the record about any of this. Everyone speaks in careful hypotheticals and anonymous quotes because crossing Meghan publicly is seen as professional suicide. But privately, the beauty industry is allegedly unified in their assessment. Working with Meghan Markle comes with risks that increasingly outweigh the rewards, and Daniel Martin is Exhibit A in why that's true. Now we come to perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of this entire saga. Because while Meghan has allegedly moved on, searching for bigger names and better opportunities in the beauty world, Daniel Martin is reportedly doing something that's making industry insiders deeply uncomfortable. He's crying on camera, and it's becoming impossible to watch. Sources claim Daniel has been appearing in social media content looking visibly emotional, sharing vulnerable moments that seem designed to show his sensitive, loyal side. He's been posting about friendship, about loyalty, about standing by the people you care about, even when times get tough. And while he never mentions Meghan by name in these posts, everyone in the industry knows exactly what he's really talking about. It's a public performance of devotion, a desperate attempt to show that he's still the faithful friend who deserves another chance. But here's what makes this situation so painfully transparent. Daniel continues to praise Meghan in indirect ways, liking posts about her, engaging with content that portrays her positively, maintaining this public facade of support despite allegedly being frozen out behind the scenes. Industry watchers describe it as watching someone try to love bomb their way back into good graces, and it's reportedly not working. Meghan's team has allegedly made it clear through their silence that Daniel's public displays of loyalty aren't enough to undo the Paris transgression. The crying, according to insiders, isn't just about lost friendship. It's about the very real financial and professional consequences Daniel is facing. That makeup collaboration would have been transformative for his career, potentially generating income streams that would have set him up for years. Without it, he's back to being a talented makeup artist in an industry full of talented makeup artists, competing for the same high-profile clients and struggling to differentiate himself in an oversaturated market. Sources suggest Daniel is desperately hoping that if he maintains his public loyalty, if he keeps proving that he's learned his lesson about seeking permission and staying in his lane, Meghan might eventually thaw the relationship enough to bring him back into the fold. He's allegedly banking on the idea that she'll realize how useful he was, how much value he brought to her image, and how difficult it might be to find someone equally talented who's also willing to accept her alleged demands for control. But industry insiders are increasingly skeptical that this strategy will work. Meghan's pattern, as we've established, is to move forward without looking back. Once someone is discarded, they stay discarded. No amount of public tears or demonstrations of loyalty seems to change that trajectory. And the longer Daniel continues this performance, the more uncomfortable the beauty community becomes watching it play out. What particularly tragic is that Daniel's desperation is allegedly making him look weak to potential future clients. In an industry that values confidence and professionalism, the emotional vulnerability he's displaying is reportedly backfiring. Brands want makeup artists who are stable, reliable, and drama-free. Daniel's very public emotional struggle over losing Meghan's favor is allegedly raising red flags about whether he can maintain professional boundaries with celebrity clients moving forward. So here we are, watching what might be the final chapter in Daniel Martin and Meghan Markle's once promising friendship, and the verdict from the industry is absolutely brutal. This relationship, which survived a royal wedding and years of public scrutiny, apparently couldn't survive one unauthorized Instagram post. And the implications of that are staggering for everyone involved. Let's be crystal clear about what this situation represents. Daniel didn't commit some unforgivable betrayal. He didn't sell secrets to tabloids or publicly criticize Meghan. His crime, if you can even call it that, was treating her like a normal client instead of someone who requires permission for every single public mention. He credited his own work using his own platform, something makeup artists do literally every single day with every other celebrity they work with. But in Meghan's world, normal professional behavior apparently equals grounds for exile. The question everyone in the beauty industry is asking now is whether Daniel can ever redeem himself in Meghan's eyes. Sources close to the situation suggest the answer is maybe, but only under very specific circumstances. If Meghan's search for bigger-name collaborators fails, if she can't secure the partnerships she's allegedly pursuing with more established beauty industry figures, then Daniel might become useful again. But it would be on her terms, with even stricter controls, and with the understanding that he's essentially on permanent probation. Industry experts are watching Meghan's beauty ambitions with intense skepticism. The market is absolutely flooded with celebrity makeup lines, and most of them fail spectacularly within their first year. Consumers are tired of celebrities slapping their names on generic products and expecting blind loyalty. If Meghan wants to succeed in this space, she needs more than just name recognition. She needs genuine innovation, quality products, and most importantly, a founder who can handle criticism without allegedly freezing out everyone who doesn't worship at her altar. As for Daniel, his path forward looks increasingly complicated. He's reportedly still hoping for reconciliation, still maintaining his public loyalty, still waiting for the phone call that might never come. But every day that passes makes him look more desperate and less professionally viable to other potential clients. The beauty industry moves fast, and dwelling on one lost relationship, even one as high profile as Meghan Markle, is career suicide in a world that demands constant forward momentum. What this situation ultimately reveals is the cost of being in Meghan's orbit. The pattern is undeniable at this point. Get close to her, serve your purpose, make one mistake, and watch your relationship evaporate like it never existed. No second chances, no forgiveness, no acknowledgement of years of loyalty and friendship. Just the cold reality of being deemed no longer useful and cast aside without ceremony. The beauty industry has taken note, and the message is spreading. Working with Meghan Markle might bring temporary prestige, but it comes with risks that could destroy careers and relationships built over decades. Daniel Martin is learning that lesson in the most public and painful way possible, and everyone watching is wondering who'll be next to discover that tears truly are not enough when it comes to the former royal known as the Duchess of Sussex. The question isn't if Meghan will discard someone else, it's simply when, and what minor infraction will trigger the next exile. Because in her world, loyalty only flows one direction, and forgiveness apparently isn't part of the equation.